This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cliff Yates Show. I'm so excited for the guest that I have on today. This man is not only a kindred spirit with me in personal growth, motivation, and but specifically in the entertainment world, stand-up comedy. And the man was on America's Got Talent, the national stage. Listen, I don't know how long I can go into it. Independent films, the guy, Nashville as a singer, a songwriter, a Johnny Cash tribute group that he led and was the star of, and independent films. If you look him up on IMDb, Mr. Pete Berwick, I'm so happy to have you on the show, my buddy.
My brother Cliff, my friend, it's great to be here. The check's in the mail. Thank you. You said it exactly as I told you to. I appreciate it. And as my head explodes and grows, it's really great to be here on the island with you, man.
And you were on the island. We both were in a film together that we filmed on the island here. It's Devil's Island 2021. Man, you were great. You're just a great actor. And man, I loved being around your energy. It was sometimes even overwhelming. It was just,
Well, Cliff, and you and I, we're both cut from the same cloth. We've studied Tony Robbins and those like him, self-empowerment. That's what your program's like. You talk about cybergenetics. You talk about improving yourself, being the best version of yourself. And so, what led me to you, I love the story. And, I was streaming, I think on Amazon. And you when you were still in LA, you were interviewing comics in your backyard there.
Right,
Backyard, I'm like, dude, wow, this guy, Hollywood, man, you had a nice spread there. That's why when you said you were even moving, I'm like, man, why? But I get it. They're leaving California in droves. It's as California goes, so the nation goes, we've always been told. Unfortunately, maybe we can reverse that. But anyway,
yeah.
So I'm watching you. I said to myself, law of attraction, because my whole life has been formulated. I've employed the law of attraction, and really it works. I mean, we could spend a whole segment talking about that in itself. But I said, I'm going to be on this guy's show. I'm going to be in that backyard. He's going to be introducing me, damn it, because I'm a comic, and I never really made a full-time living out of it because I was too busy making a full-time living out of everything else. And but I'm going to be on a show. And so, long story short, I reached out to, when you reach out to somebody you see on television or somebody who's hosting a show, whatever, you usually think, 9 out of 10 times they're going to blow you off, right? Because
right, yeah.
Why should I answer him? Who the hell he is? Man, you wrote right back to me. Yeah, man, come on, let's do it. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I like that.
You left LA before we can make it happen. Long story short, you introduced me to some filmmaker Sean King, who was directing Devil's Island. Next thing I know, I'm hanging out on the island with you.
Hey, you're the epitome of making it happen. I don't care. You travel. I know you're housed out of Chicago area, but man, you get out to LA. You go down to Florida. Hey, where the work is, you go, man. And I'll tell you, and we're about the same age. I just like to hang around people like you who are still driven. I have friends, and God bless them. Do what you want to do. They're happy to sit on the porch and just stare at the water, which I do on occasion. But then it's time to go to work, baby, and that's what you're about. And that's what I like about you.
I got you. I'm a workaholic. I really am. I'm driven. If a shark stops, it actually dies.
Yeah.
Filtration system. It's such that it has to keep moving, and so I'm that shark. But I do have a long history in show business and entertainment. I started when I was 16 in Florida, and I haven't stopped. But what I'm really passionate about now is I'm campaigning for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as you know.
I like him. I really like him. I had never really, until recently, I saw him on several podcasts, and I go, wow, this guy is so knowledgeable. It's scary.
And the thing is, I'm glad you realize that. What is making it hard for campaigners like me as part of Team Kennedy, with their headquarters is in Boston. I've been given my marching orders. I'm also taking the initiative, as I always do. We all know that initiative is what gets us to the front of the line.
Absolutely.
So I'm creating ways. I'm not just waiting around for the phone to ring. Okay, do this now, or we have to call this person, whatever. I'm taking it upon myself to do event planning. Heck, right now I'm in the middle of working on getting Bobby to visit a major healthcare center in Iowa. They have a chain of healthcare facilities out there, 39,000 patients, members, whatever you want to call them, vets, business people, and the coordinator who's trying to get me to make this happen is going to have all the local media there. So if I could book, that would be the biggest booking of my life.
Absolutely, yeah.
I booked myself on a reality show in 2008. I booked myself thousands. I mean, I can't even count the thousands of bookings, from a musician to a kid entertainer to an actor, whatever. And none of it will all pale in comparison to, hey, I booked Bobby Kennedy. And, his father's my hero. The Kennedys, I feel, and John Kennedy, JFK, greatest president we ever had. Cliff, the reason you and I are sitting here talking right now, and whoever is out there, hopefully a lot of people out there watching, listening, the only reason we are here at this moment in time, because his uncle, John F. Kennedy, he stayed off nuclear annihilation. He virtually, and I don't mean to sound blasphemous at all, I'm not being blasphemous, I believe he was a Jesus Christ of my time, of our time. He was surrounded by military-industrial complex hacks who Eisenhower, who handed the ball off to him, warned us and him about, who were telling bomb Cuba.
They wanted to get him into a war bad, didn't they? I mean, but he didn't go for it.
Exactly. Let's nuke Russia. They do not yet have the capabilities. They will one day, which, well, not that Cuba does, but they almost did. The missiles. But and we all know about the missile crisis. So he said, no. He said, he told these advisors, we call ourselves a human race. Now if it was Nixon or anyone else in there, they might have complied, and the planet just turned into a pile of ash. So I believe, and then Bobby, of course, we know what happened to Jack. Really,
man.
Who Kennedy here to make a list of who didn't want him killed. I'm convinced it was the CIA with a mob, and what the CIA does best is hits. Hits. They try to do ill-fated hits on Castro. That's what they've done. I'm sure they're going on now. And so that's one thing the CIA does very well. And don't forget, the CIA is just the American version of the KGB. I remember growing up like, the KGB, those commie KGB, they're like a police state. What the hell are we now? And you don't even need the CIA. It's out in the open. It's the Marxism of education. You see, the thing is, these far left, liberal, it used to be a cool word. Bobby Kennedy was a liberal icon. Liberal basically meant human rights for all people. But see, the far extreme left, they've taken, no, we're progressive. So really what progressive is a code word for Marxism.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Boy.
Rights for all people. No. Rights for all people, as long as you come over to how we believe. So this indoctrination of students, of people with bad health, you can't shame anybody because their health is bad. Well, I'm sorry, but people of ill health, and almost half of America is obese now, extremely out of shape. The best medicine is on the tip of your fork, but you can't tell people that. You just, you're ill, you're obese, you get out of breath when you walk up the stairs, you're constipated. You don't need pharmaceutical drugs for constipation. It's called, don't make the fifth visit to the all-you-can-eat taco bar. You know what I mean? So we're in this time where the thinking, as long as you think the way we think, this extreme Marxist thinking, which is where we're going, and it starts. It's in the university. So all the hippies who were running around, rolling in the mud at Woodstock, taking acid, burning the American flag, spitting on my Vietnam vet friends when they were coming home. All these stoned out hippies. Now they're the ones in our universities and schools indoctrinating our kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could get into it, but the medical field today, it's procedure and pills. It's not about. Because food is the best medicine. I'm reading several books now, and it's just the ability for the body to heal itself is unbelievable. But there's no money in that. No one's going to say eat a lot of vegetables. It helps you stay out of the doctor's office, because there's no money in that.
They can't, Cliff. Here's what they're doing now. When you go in, I found this because I go to the doctor once a year for my physical.
Me too. Yep, once a year.
I go to the eye doctor. I only started going recently because as we get older, we can't see quite as well. I woke up the other morning. I said to my wife, I see dots in front of my eyes. She said, have you seen a doctor? I said, no, just dots. Okay. I had to tell at least one really bad
You can't help yourself. You cannot help yourself. Hey, speak to this, because I think you're like the total example of this. So now you're campaigning for RFK Jr. But everything that you've learned as far as self-promotion, being your own agent, booking things, everything you've learned about creating and you bringing all those skills to be in the campaign. You always bring, I always say the message, hey, whatever you're doing right now, some of those lessons are going to transfer over into what you're doing today.
Well, exactly. You have to sell yourself or what you're selling to people. It's no different than any other industry. I'm well-read. I'm a voracious reader. I have piles of books in every room. And, of course, there's just not enough hours in the day, Cliff,
No,
you know.
There isn't.
It pisses me off. There really should be at least 50 hours in a day. Who decided that?
Someone would change that. I would like that. Let's go back to biblical days when people lived to be 900. I think I could do that.
So, I tried at time management. Oh, my God, and it's like I quit my last job almost 30 days ago in full-time show business because my versatility enabled me to do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Educate my fellow musicians. I'm a bass player, I'm a drummer, and I go to work a day job. I go, that's because you're dependent on a band. If you're a drummer or a bass player, learn some solo guitar, play clubs and restaurants, hack out a living being a one-man band like I did. Be versatile. Maybe do singing telegrams like I did. Singing telegrams. Yeah. Put on a chicken suit. Yeah, but make $150 in 10 hours. When I was doing singing telegrams with my kids show business, Big Top Entertainment for
Big Top.
For 20 years, I booked 300 events a year with the help of my wife, Denise. The phone was constantly ringing. Before cell phones, we had a real telephone. Ring, 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 ring.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I would leave the house just to get away from it was too much work. I was booking 300 events a year. And anyway, so versatility is the key. I think there's no excuse for not being well-educated today. Now, with all due respect to teachers, and a lot of them, unfortunately, they don't realize they're indoctrinating these kids with this new Marxism. Critical race theory. I'll give you an example. I was this one guy I was watching just now on a streaming show. I can't think of his name, but that's all right. But he's a former mathematician, and he wrote a book called The Marxism of Education. And he was giving an example of math. Okay, so they were saying, okay, mom and dad takes you to the amusement park. You're driving. You drove 30 miles. How many miles do you have to go? So obviously the answer is 20, right? But then the teacher would open up this social warrior discussion. Well, who can afford to go to the amusement park? Right? Oh, do you think it's fair that some people can go and some can't? How many of you even have a mom and dad? Is there? Well, maybe you shouldn't take the car to the amusement park because of global warming. Maybe you should take the subway. See, that is what they're doing. So I'm sorry, but these kids, even when they leave college, they're I hate to say dumb as rocks, but some of them are. Even this doctor that I was watching recently on this wonderful program interview with him. I can't think of his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember everything. But he was talking about his own field. Doctors, and of course, they go to the medical school for 8 years. But when they graduate, that's all ancient history because we're expediting at the speed of time, just technology, knowledge of technology and whatnot, medical research. Of course, what they learn is formidable, but you got to stay going. But he says they never crack a book again. They never crack a book.
No, I was, and I followed this one Dr. Pete Attia. He's actually about the science of longevity, and he has a podcast called The Drive. And I had heard this before, but he even reiterated that doctors still today either have one or none classes in nutrition. They don't have any. A lot of them are. I heard he said 65% of doctors are more unhealthy than their patients.
Well, you see, Cliff, we are in, and this is what Bobby, the media, and even when they're becoming forced to acknowledge him because he's a force of nature. So I've seen it coming, and I was speaking with some of my peers at Team Kennedy yesterday, and they're like, oh, we got to go on here and rebuttal this guy. I said, get ready. You're going to be doing too much of this, rebuttaling all these trolls, because as they're forced to acknowledge him, anti-vaxxer and blah, blah, he's a nut job and blah, blah, blah. Well, at least they're acknowledging him. Some acknowledge, what was that? Bad news is good as no news.
Bad publicity is just as good. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
The anti-vaxxer. Okay, well, you know what? As Kennedy says, and I've been saying this, you see, the reason I adore this man, besides the fact that I'm a big historian on the Kennedys, Jack and Bobby Kennedy, big heroes of mine. I've read almost every book there is on them. I read them over and over again. To me, not just in politics, but I'll talk about John Kennedy in general. Born entitled, East Coaster, blah, 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 Joe Kennedy, the rich dad's son and everything. But you know what? Jack Kennedy was his own man. And, he is a war hero. His PT boat was sunk in World War II. He saved some of his men, swam to shore, totally racked his back. He's got Addison's disease, prostatitis, and somebody who's so bad with prostatitis, I can tell you, that is a son of a bitch to deal with. And all kinds of ailments, severe back ailments. His ailments go on and on and on and on. And I know throughout his presidency, he was shot up with cortisone and whatever else he needed.
He was, yeah.
You get through a day.
Another point that I was just learning the other day from a guy named, it's PBD, Patrick, I can't think of his last name, but he brought up that Kennedy was funded, 75% was by his dad, Joe. Just like Trump, he funded probably 90% of his campaign. And I think Reagan put like 6 million, like 25 or 40% of his own money in. Where, you got people like, Hillary put zero in, made all this money, but zero of her own. Yeah. She didn't have skin in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I imagine RFK is the same. I don't know what kind of war chest he has or where it's from, but.
Well, the skin in the game, yeah, it takes money, right? And if without Joe Kennedy, are we even talking about Bobby and Jack? But call it divine intervention. If you want to get biblical, which I don't always do, but I was raised in the church. My father.
Me too. I'm a Christian, so hey, feel free, brother. We have one. That's our Savior. Yeah.
I may not be a Christian in the sense that you or other people are.
Yeah.
I actually. But anyway, that's a whole different program. But what I'm trying to say here is, okay, I honestly believe that the moment that those bullets enter the skull of Jack and 5 years later his little brother Bobby, that was the moment that the mechanism was set in motion, and it hasn't stopped since. And just as John Kennedy saved this planet from a nuclear annihilation in that moment in time. Okay, what was I going to say? Divine intervention.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
People think of Joe Kennedy or whatever. The Bible says that God sends us our leaders, good and bad.
Correct. Yeah, for a reason. Yeah.
He does tell us to respect them, which
he does. Yeah, it's hard.
Let's just coup them. Let's just smear them and lie about them and remove them from office illegally. Bill of Rights, Constitution, and of course COVID too. Totally against the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. So I believe we've come full circle 60 years later, and you and I are both 65. So when Jack was assassinated, we were 5. And we were too young to appreciate the devastating consequences of that moment in time.
Correct, yeah.
The Tinker Toys. But 60 years later, I believe that his nephew sent here, is here, whatever. This is his time. And, just like Jack was the right man for the right time, the 50s are over, the old guy Eisenhower, whatever you think of him one way or another, knew the 60s, the Beatles are coming along, hair's getting longer, freer, more open, more liberal, whatever. He was the right man for the right time, and he fit that office like a glove. And he was all about, we've all seen the speech. It's up there on YouTube.
Yeah.
For those who have ears to listen, about secret societies. Ooh, it sounds like conspiracy stuff. But he was just like Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, which does rule us along with the corporations and big pharma. Well, I want to touch more on that later. So he warned us about that, secret societies. Bam! It happened, so they had to put an end to that. And then along comes Bobby, continuing his work, basically. No, peace on earth. Get out of Vietnam. Go after corruption. The FBI, CIA, go after these corrupt entities. Jimmy Hoffa, that was a whole nother story there. Entire books written just on that, which I've read. So, they had to both be eliminated. And so now Bobby, we all worry about his safety, but I think too messy. I don't think that's going to happen unless it is some nutcase. But because they would connect the bullet hole dots, they would connect the dots. Then because you have to keep telling lies to cover up the past lies.
Yeah.
Because once the lies revealed and the past lies revealed, the whole house of cards comes falling down.
Yeah, I agree. So that's
I love. Big Pharma. Big Pharma is so powerful. They're so corrupt. You could add them to the CIA, the FBI, the Federal Reserve, the IRS, and you can add Big Pharma to that. And that's why even now, it's coming out now. Even Newsweek did an article recently about the scamdemic and how, yes, the vaccine is killing people. You have healthy kids who've never been a problem in their life, playing baseball, football, hockey. They're suddenly dropping dead on the track field or the ice skating rink, but you're not going to see it on ABC News. They're not going to report that, unless along comes, unfortunately, it happens to be a white cop shooting a black kid. Well, then it's a major story and we burn the cities down again. But when it's a Hispanic cop shooting an Asian kid or an Asian cop shooting a Chinese kid, whatever the mix is, and the law of demographics, the law of the universe says, you're going to have all various different instances. They only focus on that. So that's the great reset. That's the great it's all resetting history and how we're supposed to think and where we're supposed to go to fit this one mold of conformity. Now the nightly news, we all notice, like, every other commercial is like, drugs. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. It may cause hair loss, diarrhea, vomiting, nuclear fallout, the temptation to stab your family while they sleep. But it may even cause you death. But ask your doctor if it's right for you. Right? That's all you see these commercials. Well, 75% of the mainstream media, 75% of their advertising is Big Pharma. It's their biggest client. So, for example, Anderson Cooper, he makes like $12 million a year. Well, $10 million of that comes from Big Pharma. Big Pharma is supporting mainstream media. And BlackRock, a lot of people, BlackRock, who's that? Sounds like conspiracy stuff. No, BlackRock is like a huge conglomerate, huge media company. They control virtually just about all of media. I was watching an interview, and this, I don't know if it leaked out or whatever, but this guy in BlackRock, he's sitting there on this panel, and he's like, yes, our job here at BlackRock is to conform society to the way we want them to think, is to basically brainwash people. He didn't use the word brainwash, but it's to lead them in a certain direction of thinking. So we are in a very critical moment in time, and a lot of people don't want to think. I'm campaigning very hard, 17, 18 hours a day, online, out in the field. I'm organizing parades for July 4th. We're going to be marching for Kennedy, which is going to be a little fun. I'm involved with the organization of Oak Park, Illinois. We're going to be marching in the parade for that, and all kinds of different things. And I'm working on musical fundraisers, trying to get some bands involved. But we are in a very critical time. And I talk to people. I talk about Bob, who's Robert Kennedy Jr. Oh my God, they don't even know that he's running for president. Well, I haven't heard that. Well, the reason they haven't heard it is because they're living by like what they say. Well, who's they? What they say? It's always been the mainstream commercial media. And it's just like, I'll revert to the music business for one moment in time. Just like now Taylor Swift is on tour. That's all you hear about. Taylor Swift. Every story is Taylor Swift. So that's how it is. It's McDonald's, man. It's a billion sold mentality. And people, they are thinking for themselves. The internet, like what we're doing now, we're doing this interview. You're in New York. I'm in Illinois. We're able to meet today and do this. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse for not knowing what's going on. The Illuminati. Well, okay, conspiracy. Well, okay, it's not. It's the shadow. Yeah, it's a puppet masters. There's a lot of organizations, corporations, corrupt governments that they do meet in dark rooms and whatnot. But what is illuminated? The Illuminati means illuminated. They're the enlightened ones. Okay, so they're enlightened and we're not, and they know that. That's how they get away with this nonsense. But the American people, each individual would become enlightened. And Cliff, you and I have both read Anthony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. I've read that book probably half a dozen times.
Absolutely, yeah, me too.
The other year, and it was written like in 1995, but it's totally irrelevant, more than ever. And I actually started my own political party. Why not? This is America. I can
That's
start.
Right. Why not?
Who's going to stop me? And it's called the Individualist Party. And people were laughing at me. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, okay, whatever. People have been laughing at me all my life. When I told them I was going to be on every major network TV show as an entertainer, they laughed at me. I did that. When I told them I was going to have dozens of my songs in major motion pictures and television, they laughed at me then. Well, I have. I have conquered every. I married the girl of my dreams because I envisioned her. I actually envisioned the girl of my dreams, and I envisioned that I would be going to Nashville and getting signed to a record deal with her, and that happened. I am not kidding.
I love it. I love it.
As a man thinketh, so is he.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, that's so true.
Just now on that particular rant, but anyway, that's.
Hey, thank you, and thank you for the recommendation. If anybody wants to get it, I'm so almost scared reading it. The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah. Unbelievable. When you talk about Big Pharma, I'm learning all these things that the FDA is funded almost 50% by by the FDA is funded by Big Pharma. So, I mean,
Yes.
how can you be an independent thinker that way? And what you say reminds me of, and I remember that guy now, PBD podcast. It's Patrick Bet David. And he was bringing up, he says there's three groups. And when you speak to it, obviously, every time you talk, there's three groups, he says. And I think I agree. There's the oblivious, and then there's the elite, which is the government that wants to control you.
Right.
And then there is the anti-establishment, free thinkers, entrepreneurs who are all about freedom. And that's what you're speaking to today. And wow, bravo, brother. I'm telling you, right on.
And Cliff, that's who they fear the most. Free thinkers. They're not interested in that. The elite, the puppet masters, they're not interested in us.
Well, yeah, their group is the oblivious. That's their group. So, yeah, obviously they're against the entrepreneurs and free thinkers. And so, absolutely, yeah. But we need to, the fight is on to be in that one group so that we can maintain our freedom. I would probably be, at least recently, in the oblivious category. If it wasn't for people like you and also my wife, who was born in Cuba, who says, hey, that's communism. That's no, that's what they first do. They go to the schools, they indoctrinate. No, they did that in Cuba. And she really opens my eyes to what's happening.
And people like Elma, your beautiful wife, who come from communist countries. I was watching an interview with this Chinese man. He's on Washington, D.C., and he is on, I forgot what he is. He's not a senator. It'll come to me. But anyway, what a great American, because he sees, and he says, what's happened there has become normal is happening here. And we have been a long time the frog in the boiling pot of water.
That's right. Very slowly. Yep.
So the Fauci book is amazing. It's mind-blowing. Is that most people won't read it.
Mind-blowing.
He was a dangerous. He caused people to die. No, just the opposite. If you read the book, it was about saving lives. So, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine. You're a Trumper if you believe in that, because I think Trump mentioned hydrochloroquine. So out the window with that. The baby with the bathwater. No, it's a horse tranquilizer. It was suppressed. Articles all over. No, this won't work. You got to wait for the vaccine. So people are like, okay, well, what do I do if I get sick? Well, they're told, well, just stay at home, quarantine yourself, lockdown. Okay, what happens if I get sick? Well, come on in, we'll put you on a ventilator. So they come in, they could get put on a ventilator, which the hospitals are getting paid $35,000 a bed, a ventilator from the government to put them on. And so, and other countries are using ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, saving lives. These doctors, they're coming on Twitter and saying, hey, man, I had patients who are dying. I gave them these low-cost available remedies, and boom, they're getting erased. They're getting canceled. They're getting scrubbed from big tech, and big tech, they're all in the bed with Big Pharma. They're all in the bed with the deep state. So Fauci basically is, I'm sorry to be so blunt, he's a mass murderer with a sidekick crony, Criminal Gates. These guys, they're all connected. They're all connected with big, and it's a conflict of interest. It's a total conflict of interest.
Total. If you read the book, guys, these treatments that were available that they were against were about $10 a dose, and they wanted you to have the $3,500 to $5,000 a dose. Yeah.
And the war on the anti-vaxxers. People who are like, I don't know. Is it good to rush this thing? Doesn't a vaccination usually take 10 years? But suddenly, magically, because of our technology, we can have it like next week. Yeah, let's go get poked. You take it, it's good for you. And so those of us who are like, well, hold on a second. I don't know if whatever happened to, my body. Like women talk about abortion, and I'm not going to go there. I actually believe it. I can't stand in a woman's shoes. I'm not about to. So that's her argument. It is not mine. And so, okay, but if that's the case, then why are you forcing me to put something
that's right.
in my body that I question? We were ostracized. It was a total current Nazi communist. You ostracize. If you're the problem. You anti-vaxxers are the problem. If it wasn't for you, we'd be out of this in 2 weeks. No, wrong. If it wasn't for the mass murdering Fauci and his complicit government cronies and Big Pharma, oh man, they were raking it in. Fauci and Gates, $50 billion in their pockets, big. And what a wet dream come true for any corporation. Big Pharma's got this government contracted job where people are forced You can't go to your daughter's wedding. You can't go to your father's funeral. You can't go to a bar and have a beer. You can't go to a play. You can't go anywhere. And I know I had to show my papers. Show me your papers to go to my niece's wedding. But I took one for the team because
Yeah.
I'm working on film, and I've left film. I don't know for good or just temporary. My plate is full 18-hour days in this campaign. But when I was working on film, during the height of the scamdemic, I had to take one for the team. I had to take the Johnson & Johnson, which I'm glad I did because that was the weaker of the shots. It was lower. Anyway, and I had to take one. I wish I had. In hindsight, I would have just blown off that film work. These were prizes that didn't really go anywhere anyway. But I took one for the team, and then it's like, take your booster. And then suddenly I would audition for other film work. Like, well, you got to be boosted. No, you know what? I'm done.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, before we get too far.
They kept moving the goalposts, man.
Always.
Fauci first. The masks don't do any good, he said. As a matter of fact, they can be worse. And that was my argument, too. Even before he started spewing his bullshit. My thinking is that you get whatever's trapped in there, moisture, it's all trapped in there. You're breathing in and out the same stale. Whatever happened to fresh air is good for you. Suddenly, no, it's not good for you. Cover little kids who are still growing. So no, don't need the mask. Suddenly, yeah, you need the mask.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
You get the COVID shot. If you get the poke, don't got to worry about COVID. Suddenly, people are getting it. It's like, well, what that means is you didn't die. Well, how do you ever prove that or not? Well, then people are dying. They were dying. They still are. And like young people who had they weren't endangered at all of dying from COVID. Now they've got these heart issues. They've got injuries. They're dropping dead while they're playing sports. And of course, again, the lamestream media will not cover it. But these articles are coming out. Newsweek recently, they did a cover story.
They're coming out with it.
Oh, my God. That's a good sign of things to come. But this is what it's going to be, Cliff. It's going to be like the Kennedy assassinations. It's going to be like 9/11. It's going to be like it's going to be like every other scam we've had, which is it's going to be one side is always going to think this way. See, because what we originally are told, and you still have people running around with masks like they're doing a good deed or something. Whatever they were originally told, they're never going to change their thinking. Scientists love it when another scientist discredits them. Say, no, you're right. They love to be proven wrong because that's how science keeps growing. So we're supposed to believe the science, but we're not.
Hey, Pete, before we get too far into it, because first of all, you have several CDs out of your music. Where can they get that, or where can they find? Do you have PeteBerwick.com or something, or what do you have where they could go to find you?
Well, if there's a landfill in your neighborhood, I'd look there.
No way, man. I love your CDs, man. You're a great songwriter, but I know there's several out there that I know they're on Amazon. You can buy these on Amazon under Pete Berwick. I know for sure.
PeteBerwick.com.
Straight out of Nashville. It's one of my favorites. Oh my God.
Ain't no train out of Nashville.
Yeah, ain't no train out of. Yeah, that's right. So there is PeteBerwick.com. They can go there.
Yeah, that's my main website. That covers everything I do.
And your latest book, is that on there? That was awesome. Yeah. Oh my God. Do you have it? Show it. Yeah. I want people to get this book and get this paperback because the illustrations in it. I never knew about the boys until I looked them up. And by the way, check out the boys on YouTube and then get this book. You'll find the whole history. And it's just fascinating, especially about the whole rock and roll. Oh my God. And the band culture. And you were involved in that, man. And those guys love you. And wow, what a history of the boys. I never knew about the boys.
Oh yeah. They were, what I love about it, you and I were for the underdog, Cliff. That's what you do on your show. That's what I do. We try to, and it takes an underdog to know an underdog. And I know your story. You talk about how you were like a 90-pound weakling,
Absolutely. Yep.
And then, you're 30 years as a police officer in LA, and I applaud you for your service.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Never had to give me a traffic ticket because I don't know if I even talk. That's okay.
How about if anybody wants to hear more about Bobby Kennedy too, where can they go? You're in the campaign and you're pushing it. And what if they want to know more about it?
I just wanted to start. So I spent a year writing this book.
Yeah.
Totally. And writing a book is, as you know, you've written books.
Yeah.
It's all consuming. I put all my acting aside. I was just, and my wife was glad to get me back after a year. So I thought I'd take some time off, take a little trip. I took maybe half a breath and jumped right into this campaign. But yeah, Pete Berwick, because I'm a workaholic, and I go by the motto. I don't know if you can see what it says here in my coffee cup. What does that say? Coffee makes everything
possible. I love coffee. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to put these links in the description of the show on YouTube and also on the show notes of all the podcast platforms, PeteBerwick.com, and where you can get these books.
Yeah, PeteBerwick.com. Those links will send you to where you can, the site, Kennedy24.com, where you can volunteer. I encourage any listeners, anybody who wants to do something about it. Everyone's talking. That's the thing with the internet. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of babbling. There's a lot of like, oh, what's this world coming to? And it's, if you'd like to really do something, and I know, you've got a day job. Even if it's an hour, even if it's 20 minutes a day, go to Kennedy24.com, sign up as a volunteer. And there's no obligation. Nobody's going to be asking you for, you can make a donation if you want, but you don't have to. You just sign up. You answer a couple questions. Where do you live? What would you like to do? They give you a list, campaign online. Don't even have to leave your house. With Canvas, phone work, whatever, work in march and parades like we're doing July 4th. These things, it's a work in progress. And then you're a volunteer, and then a lot of people, they sign up and then they just sign up. They don't create. You get a page on the Kennedy site, the main Kennedy24.com site. You get your own page that you can upload your photo, your what you.
Wow, that's great. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, why you want to campaign, and you can work your site. They give you your own link. They give you a link so that if people go to that link and contribute, you get credit for it.
I'm going to check that out. Yeah, so Kennedy24.com, and you have your own page on that platform. Yeah. And I would encourage, not to interrupt you, Pete, but I would encourage conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, check out RFK Jr. because the guy speaks truth and a wealth of knowledge. He knows foreign policy, domestic, everything about these, and they label him as anti-vaxxer. He's not really. He's just more about truth, honesty. And boy, I love listening to him. And so I would encourage anybody, it doesn't matter what party you're in, check out Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and what he has to say. And I think you'd be pretty much amazed. And God bless you for all you're doing in his campaign. He's got a real soldier working for him.
Thank you. And as you say, they wanted to keep us divided. United we
I
stand
know.
divided.
Yeah.
And divided. They want us to fall. And when I say they, there's a lot of theys, but I think we already covered a lot of it. But so the anti-vaxxer, they're very divisive introduction to
I know.
A formidable candidate, like you said, who I believe is the only one to bring us together. Republicans, I talk to so many Republicans on and offline. They're like, I voted for Trump, or I've always been Republican. I'd never vote for a Democrat, ever, but I'm going to vote for him. And purple, red, blue, purple.
Principles.
Very pragmatic, just like his uncle John Kennedy was. Very pragmatic. And when you listen to him, every interview I've seen where they want to trap him on an issue, it's all about, he's open to discussion. John Kennedy was like, let's bring everyone to the table instead of screaming and shouting, whether it's gun control, abortion, whatever, whatever the topic. That it's all fighting and screaming. Oh, if you believe this, then I'm voting for that. No, a lot of people are just one issue voters, and that's the big mistake people are making. And this man, I'm telling you, just like his uncle Jack Kennedy, pragmatic about bringing people to the table and getting out of wars. And the Ukraine war, I know we're running out of time. That's a whole other subject. He's got ways in that, and that's got a long history. Military complex. That the boiling frog. We were led into that war, and anybody can study the history. We don't have time for that now. But I really believe. I'm not going to say our only hope, our last hope. That sounds kind of fatalistic, but I'm campaigning as if that's the way it is.
Hey, Pete, will you come back on the show? Because this has been fantastic, very enlightening, and it'll be interesting to have you come back on as the campaigns kind of progress along and to see what's happening, and we can kind of we'll have a comparison of what we know today and what's probably going to happen, and everybody's going to probably want to know how your fight's going in the campaign and what you're doing. And this has been great talking with you, man. You're awesome and full of energy. That's what I love. And you're the kind of people I like to hang around. It's like I hate people that are, I'm too old for that now. And you and I do not think that way, man. God bless you, man. You're doing great work, and I love you.
So are you, and congratulations on Cliff Yates Show. You're growing in viewers, and it's really, you've done a great job with the show. And I'll make a deal with you. I'll make a deal with you. When Robert F. Kennedy Jr. clinches the Democratic nomination,
yes,
which that's why they're ignoring him. They just assume Biden's going to limp and trip and
Yeah.
stumble his way in there. When he clinches it, which he is going to do, and I am breaking my back every day. One man, John Kennedy, President Kennedy said everyone can make a difference and everyone should.
Yeah, that's right.
When he clinches the nomination, I will pull up to your little oasis there in upstate New York in a boat. I will pull up in a boat and we'll do the next interview in person. How's that?
I love it.
I want you to hold me to that.
And you'll do it. I know, because you know what? You're someone who does what they say they're going to do, and you say what you're going to do. Hey, you're awesome. Right. Hey, let's get back together on this. This has been Mr. Pete Berwick, and I love you, brother. And I'm going to put all the links in the description, not only YouTube, but all the platforms about Kennedy24.com and PeteBerwick.com, where they can get your books and where they can get more information on everything we talked about, my brother.
All right, Cliff, my brother, my good friend. Rock and roll.
All right, hang on for the post-show interview. I love you.